Hey guys, welcome to video number 2 on our Curly Hair 101 series. Today we're going to go over application of styling products and styling products. So when we left off, we had washing and we had just gotten out of the shower, we had rinsed our hair upside down, started to encourage the curls, and our hair is soaking wet. From here we can go one of two ways, and for me it depends on which way I'm going to be drying. If I'm going to be air drying or if I'm going to be diffusing. If I'm going to be diffusing and I have time to be around the house and I need to put on some makeup and do kind of some stuff, I might wet plop, which means upside down I apply a plastic shower cap that leaves all the wetness and the moisture in there as I go do different things if I need to do something before I do my diffusing, like my videos. If I'm going to air dry, I go right into doing the product. That way it gives my hair the most time and to be able to dry. Those are the two ways that we can dry our hair. Another way, I prefer to wet plop, but you can also dry plop your hair, which is putting your head upside down and laying the curls onto either the wet t-shirt or a terry cloth towel, and then tying it up. Some people prefer to do this at night because in the morning then their curls have been intact. For me, I always find that it's super flat on the top of my head and it never works well for me at all. So I always just kind of stick to the wet plop when I'm in the middle of getting ready. Now, the one thing I want you to remember is start off super simple, super easy. We don't have to get crazy and go buy a bunch of tons of products. You might even have some of these products that you can use. And the funny thing about marketing is just because it says curly or it doesn't say curly, it doesn't mean we can use it or we have to use it. I've found lots of gels that work just fine, but that aren't necessarily marketed to curly, and they're like $5 for a tub. It might not be the cleanest, but it's definitely an option. And especially when you're getting started, you don't want to break the bank trying to find what product works for you. In my first demo, I'm going to be air drying, and the products that I use is a curl enhancing cream and this this gel. This is a Diva Curl Gel. This conditioner even actually says thick moisture and curl defined for thick and curly hair. My hair is on the wavier side, and it also is definitely not thick. I still use this, I just use less. So don't be afraid to use things that don't necessarily sound like they're tailored to you. It's marketing, is really all it is. And you can and this is a trial size that I found at Target. And a lot of times, that's the best way to try new products. If I'm going to use a gel, I generally use a cream, depending on the gel and depending on how my hair feels. Instead of a cream, I could use a leave-in conditioner, or that's a cream or a spray. Again, it's kind of whatever I have that I need to go and use through. But generally, I get the same results. There are some creams that do have hold. The Inner Sense Whipped Cream Texturizer does have some hold, but because I need extra hold because my curls are looser, I usually go in with a gel or a custard after that. If the second demo that you will be seeing, I use some of a leave-in conditioner because my hair was feeling rather dry, and then I go in with a mousse, and then I diffuse. If I'm using a mousse, I generally try to diffuse it because that gives me extra volume. And that's from what you see here today is exactly this. There are also custards. This is the Kinky Curly Original Curling Custard. This is at Target. I've seen it at Sally's. This is goes a long way. So I would start off with this very small. Again, with almost anything, except for maybe the gel. And we'll get back to that. There's another custard by Kinky Curls that I don't need to put a curl cream and I don't need to follow up with a gel that holds super well, and I've gotten 3 days of awesome curls. So some products are really better than others. It might just be how your hair responds and how it likes. A custard is kind of in between a cream and a gel. It's got a lot of slip, which means it's slippery when you're putting it on, but it does have offer some hold. Do not be afraid of gels. You just need to learn how to do it the right way. So with a gel, I do a decent amount of gel and I work it through my hands until it's all squished and I feel like it's evenly distributed. I use the praying hands method, which means I put the product between my hands and then I go like this to distribute it on each side, and you'll see that in the demo. That for me works the best because it keeps my curls intact. Some people, when their hair is wet, they take individual pieces and they finger curl their hair. My hair is not that coarse, so I really can't do that. I actually might try it just to see if it just gives it more of a wavier kind of a look, but I've always just tried to keep my curls intact from conditioning to diffusing till it's like totally dry. With a gel, and actually with any product, you have to remember, like the second cardinal rule is do not touch your hair until it is 1000% dry, especially when it comes to a gel. I see so many people that use a gel and they use it the wrong way. So when I distribute the gel totally, then I leave it alone. Either I let it air dry without touching it till it's 100%, or I diffuse it, again, trying not to touch it. I do have a problem with it, and sometimes you can get frizz from that, which is where some of mine comes from. There are other gels, the Eco Styler gel, that's really sticky, and so I just scrunch my hair until I can't feel that stickiness anymore. So you just have to keep working it in until you don't feel that anymore. It will go away. There are times where if I use enough cream, I don't get that cast once my hair is dry, whether I air dry it or diffuse it. A lot of times you will, though, because I like to put a lot of gel for a good amount of hold. So from not touching your hair until it's 100% dry, and let's say you use a gel and you get that cast, that hard, crunchy hair. Once it's 100% dry, you're gonna go in and scrunch your hair, and you will see that the cast is broken. So that's what a lot of people say is called scrunching out the crunch. Even though a lot of other products don't do that, like some of the creams and custards, I still do that after so that it kind of releases whatever is kind of holding it together, my curls, and makes it nice and fluffy. Don't do it until it's 100% dry, or else you're gonna get really frizzy and probably kind of mess with the curl pattern that you have. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think we just go from there. I also fluff my hair up with a pick. I do that at the roots. And what that does is also break the cast at the roots. You could do it with your fingers. You could do it with this. I'm starting to kind of mess around with like a root booster, and then go in with this to see if I can't really build up my roots. Because as my hair gets longer, it also gets weighed down, and I don't get it as fluffy in the top as I was. So it's a balance if you want more volume or if you want more length. And you kind of figure out what works for you. So yep, in the videos I go through a gel and a mousse. There are so many different ways you can go and put different products together. My advice is start small, use the cheapest ones that you can. I will give you plenty of options for readily available and super affordable, all to super clean and maybe a little bit more expensive. But you'll be able to find it no matter what's important to you. If cost is important to you or if ingredients are important to you, we can find it and you can do it. Also making sure, and I think I've mentioned this before, is using a old t-shirt or a terry cloth towel and not using, a microfiber towel and not using a terry cloth towel, as that can cause more frizz. From there, we'll go into some issues or some kind of troubleshooting some problems that we might have when it comes to this, and try this out. Try the first one, try air drying, try diffusing, but again, see how this works for you. Let me know what you think. Let me know what's worked for you. Let me know what hasn't worked for you in the past, and maybe I can give you some suggestions on what might work for you in your hair. I will see you next time for our next week's video. So let's get into our demo. This is the plastic shower cap I discussed, and right after our last video left off with the conditioning, I just put it all around my wet hair so I could get some makeup and get ready while it leaves my hair totally soaking wet. This is the Andalou Natural leave-in conditioner. As I mentioned, my hair was quite dry. I don't leave too much as it's thicker, and I use the praying hands method here, making sure it's all evenly distributed. And then I like to go through and scrunch to make sure it's all like in between. Scrunching is the biggest thing that's the most helpful in using any product for me. I apply a little bit more, and again I scrunch it through just to make sure that's all evenly distributed and to really combat frizz. Then I'm going with the Giovanni Mousse. This has some really good hold to it. I started off the first few times not using as much, and then I started to use a lot more. Again, I use the praying hand method to get that all evenly distributed on the back and the top and the sides of my hair, and then I go through and I scrunch. Then I use my towel, my microfiber towel, and then I scrunch the excess water and the excess product out. You can see I flip my head around back and forth from one side to the other just to make sure, again, the same reason that I had my hair upside down when I was rinsing out the conditioner is to make sure that I have lots of volume at my roots and that they don't lay flat at the top of my scalp. So you can see my hair is still pretty wet. I let it air dry for about 10 minutes and then I go into my diffuser. Now my diffuser is on the lowest heat setting. It's not on cold, but I keep my finger on the cold button so that doesn't get too hot. So you wanna kind of blow dry it like we usually do. You want to make sure it's coming from the bottom of the root, up the bottom of the hair, up to help keep encouraging the curls. And again, I keep flipping my head side to side to make sure that the top of my hair on my scalp doesn't stay flat. Towards the end, as it starts to get dry and I start to feel it, I do turn it from the lowest speed setting to the highest one. This sometimes gives me a little bit more volume, and kind of helps finish up drying when I kind of get a little bit impatient here. Again, I'm using the lowest heat setting, and using the cool button quite often. So now I'm just about done. My hair is 100% dry here, and I kind of feel sometimes my roots take a little bit longer than the rest of my hair. But all in all, diffusing takes me about 20 minutes. Now I'm scrunching out any type of cast or crunch that might be left from any product. This is especially important with gel. I'll go over that with our next video next week. But you can see my curls are loose and well defined, and I've got some good volume. A lot of times some curls will bunch and gather together, and I try to go through, it's like you can see that they're all intertwined, to separate them. This adds for volume. This is especially important if you have tighter curls, and you want to get a lot more volume in your hair. So I kind of go through. I'm also shaking my roots, added volume, and then also to break any cast of any type of hold that the product might be leaving. And again, I do the same thing with the pick, just to gather more volume to get my hair a little bit loose. And that is it for this one. I kind of play around with it a bit to kind of figure out where I like it, but that is the end of this demo. Next week we will go over air drying with gel and a leave-in. We'll see you next time.